Physics and physical training. So, the essential question is, what does physics or science mean to you? To me, physics means diving deeper into certain properties within our universe and being able to understand certain movements of matter, whether it's time or space. Many things in our lives involve physics, and it has made me able to make my own deeper connection to it and comprehend why certain things work the way that they do. The second question is, how does physics connect to your life? I say that physics connects to my life through weightlifting. I am someone who loves to train at the gym frequently, at least 3 times strength training a week, and I was able to use science application into my journey through Newton's laws and even the concept of work. I'm able to appreciate the physics field for what it has taught me and done for me. The purpose of this assignment was to create a science project that connects something from our lives to some physics concepts that we learned and picked up throughout the year in the class. I applied clarity to purpose by talking about a real world example from my daily life and talking about the relationship and connection it has with physics so that I myself and any audience is fully aware and clear how there's a correlation between my example of weightlifting and the science field of physics through more ways than one may think. I thoroughly gave multiple aspects of physics instead of just one so that the reason of this connection will be more direct and comprehensible. Some concepts mentioned that will help me guide you through this are Newton's second law of motion, Newton's third law of motion, Newton's work, joules, gravity, mass, acceleration, force, and distance. To define some of them, Newton is a unit of measurement for force. Joule is a unit of measurement for energy. It's important not to mix the two, force and energy, because they're not the same, since forces are the way energy is transferred from an object to another. And energy is the cause and force is the effect, basically. Gravity is the force that attracts a body towards the center of the earth or towards any other physical body having mass. Mass is a measure of how much matter is in an object. Acceleration is the rate of change of velocity with time. Force can be defined as a push or a pull that acts on an object. Distance is the measurement of length between 2 points, or how much ground is covered by an object, regardless of direction. I applied relevance because in order to successfully get through this assignment, I needed to know what concepts relate to the matter at hand, which in my scenario is physical training. If I had irrelevant concepts, the assignment could have taken an unfortunate turn, and it wouldn't help me explain the connection I was intending to give in the first place. The first concept used is Newton's second law of motion. This law states that when an unbalanced force acts on an object, the object is accelerating in the same direction as the force. My favorite exercise is the flat barbell bench press, so I will focus on that particular movement. This exercise provides a push motion for our body, which strains our chest, triceps, and even front deltoid. At the top of the movement, before you bring the bar down to the chest, the arm is at full extension in order to apply enough force to equal the gravitational force being applied to the bar's total mass. When the bar is coming down, less force has to be applied in order for your muscles to go through the movement necessary to complete the lift. This is only half of the rep, however. Now for the second half, the gravitational acceleration is still 9.81 meters per second squared. So in order to finish the second half, a greater force has to be exerted to bring the bar back up. This lets us know that when our chest muscles accelerate against a mass, we're producing more force. Heavier mass being moved has a direct relationship with the need of greater muscle force required to move it from that state of rest. We want to maximize force while minimizing something else to reap the benefits of training, which will bring me to another point later on. To give an example of this, we know that to find force, we must multiply mass and acceleration. If you're someone like me who loves to train, you will know that a 225-pound bench press is a great milestone that people will want to achieve. So I did the calculations of force equals mass times acceleration with a mass of 102 kilograms instead of 225 pounds, since in physics we primarily use SI units. And I multiplied it with the acceleration due to gravity of 9.81 meters per second squared. And it equated to approximately 1001 newtons, which is the force output in a 2-plate bench press. The second concept that I applied was Newton's third law of motion. Now, what does this law state? It states that when one object exerts force on a second object, The second object exerts a force on the first that is equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. When performing the barbell bench press, the bar is brought down all the way to the chest. When this happens, the tricep muscles and pectoralis major and pectoralis minor, which are the anatomical words for the chest muscles, are put under stretch, which is the eccentric portion of the lift. This will cause them to contract at the concentric portion of the lift with more force so that we can push the weight back up while resisting the barbell's force of gravity more effectively, which is going the opposite direction like third law states. In other words, it's the action and reaction. This is important to understand because before you get ready for the lift, you need to understand the mind-muscle connection and knowing what muscles are being utilized at the start and end of the exercise rep so that you're prepared for the movements. If you don't have the base and fundamentals of the lift, you can severely hurt yourself and have a long-term injury, keeping you shy from hitting your goals. The last concept I applied was work. So, work is an energy transfer by an object moving over a certain distance through external force. It's usually measured in joules. The formula for work is force equals distance. Force equals force times distance, sorry. So, an example of work being done in the two-plate bench press for a person with an arm length of about 0.60 meters, which is just off by 0.10 of the average arm length. So I multiplied 1001 times 0.60 and it became to be 600.6 joules, about that. Now, when it comes to resistance training, we want to make sure that our performance is efficient enough to get in an effective workout. So if there is a way to reduce the amount of work required, it will have direct relationship with less joules required. And since joules is an energy source, our bodies won't have to utilize all of those joules or all of those calories to get the job done. When bench pressing, since we want to reduce the amount of work, we can make certain changes, whether it's changing force or displacement or distance. For someone who primarily trains for strength, I don't want to decrease the force output because it means the mass or amount of weight I'm pushing will have to decrease since acceleration of gravity can be altered. So what I will have to adjust is the distance that the bar is traveling from my chest. This can be done through retracting the scapula and arching the lower back just a bit to not compromise form. This will help the chest stick out slightly more towards the bar, which will limit the range of motion, which is our distance. So let's say distance decreases by 0.15 meters. Work done will total out to be about 450 joules per rep as opposed to 600.6 joules in the example provided. This saves energy and helps those training to perform more reps. You're basically doing more for less, which will help better results. There will be So, in this, I applied depth of point of view. I can actually say that this study really opened my eyes and helped deepen my view on fitness. It was like a whole new world, I would call it. I say this because before taking this physics course, I was just someone you would call a gym bro, who would give bro science or misinformation that wasn't really helping anyone at all. It wasn't until I got really serious about my goals and I had hit a plateau in the gym. A plateau is a stall in performance, whether it means getting weaker, experiencing fatigue, or not progressing in your workouts for a long period of time. I was only benching 135 pounds, or about 61 kilograms for 5 reps, and I couldn't quite understand why, when I tried increasing the weight by 5 pounds, about 2.3 kilograms, I was struggling to even get 3 reps, and I would stay at that amount of reps for over a few weeks. I was recovering properly, eating at a caloric surplus, sleeping about 9+ hours a day, and managing other outside factors such as stress, but I still couldn't quite improve. There was one missing factor. It was the biomechanics and physics. Once I utilized the information I gathered, I changed up my form to get a more effective range of motion in order to manage the effort I was putting in, and it was night and day difference. Today, I stand at a 1 rep max of about 93 kilograms or 205 pounds, and I will continue to improve those numbers thanks to my deeper understanding of physics. Throughout this wonderfully put and intriguing assignment, one intellectual I picked up was intellectual autonomy. Because I independently thought through questions and problems, I didn't seek help from those around me, rather looking at primary sources and going on from there. Now, here's an example of me. bench pressing.